Welcome back. We're talking about China's plan to move from a manufacturing-based economy to an innovation-fueled growth model. The country is aiming to become an innovation powerhouse by 2020. Let's get back to our discussion. Let's go to Wu Jun in Austria. And Wu Jun, what are the major innovation sectors, if I can call it that, that China can tap into and that are currently underrepresented in the economy? Where are the major opportunities?
I think there are a couple of areas China will need innovation and convert into production in the future. Number one will be telecommunication. This is a big concept, not just mean cell phone, like broadcast media. It's related to any way to connect people to people. For example, how do you like to deliver some information or some product, virtual product, services from one person to the other for those two people without understanding each other, without knowing each other before. And China has lots of innovation on this area. And today, not just instant messenger, not just cell phones, but many ways to use the telecommunication in industry, and they use it very smartly. So this is one area I would say in general communication. Another one is transportation. China is a big country, has a very big population density, and the transportation is really a problem in the past. And I think that's why high-speed railway system were paved in the country, much faster than in any other area in the world. But that's not enough, because still we will see, for example, in big cities, the traffic is really bad today. How can they use some smarter way to improve the communication, transportation? For example, use drive car, for example, smart car, and to use artificial intelligence technology to manage the transportation in a big city. And this is actually a change, but also I would say opportunity for China, and also for manufacture, because China today is still a big manufacturer country, and nobody can expect the growth of manufacture can get down, for example, in 20 years even. And how can they convert manufacture mass production to some manufacturer which target to very small niche market, specific people, but still can control the cost at lower cost instead of a very produce very high pricing merchandise.
Right.
So this is also a challenge. But China is really a manufacturer country, and a huge population of laborers live on this industry. So I would say at least these three areas.
Okay, Carmen, of course, these are very ambitious plans, but what are the challenges that Chinese innovators will face?
I would say that what I see from my years of working in China that I think would help China develop an innovation economy are in the following areas. I think first is that from a cultural perspective, I think that Chinese entrepreneurs often are afraid of failure. And I think that so sometimes their plans they become less ambitious about their plans just because of fear of failure. So I think that's an important thing to do, to develop more of a culture where if you fail, it could almost be a badge of pride. The second thing I think is that I think that China, I have found in making a lot of deals with funds from China, including government funds as well as funds, just China-based funds, is that they tend to be a lot less generous towards the entrepreneurs. So we find oftentimes that we're arguing the gear of the company. And I would say thirdly that that often you don't find the same ecosystem that we have in terms of the roles. You need very robust professional groups like lawyers, accountants, and bankers to give support to the entrepreneurs and to the companies, so that as they mature, they develop in a way that would enable them to become huge companies. So I think that that there's still a lot of things that could be done in that area.
Joanna, when we talk about technology and innovation, one tends to think about information technology, but China also wants to take the lead in things like clean energy and protecting the environment and introduce new technologies. In those respects, what does it need to do to get ahead there?
Well, one of the things you're seeing in the 13th five-year plan period is a government effort to really rethink the science and technology support structure within China, and to, in an effort to sort of refocus resources on the priority technology areas. So energy and environmental technologies is really one of these areas where, of course, they don't just have important applications in China today, but will have increasingly important applications globally. So as China moves from a manufacturing to an innovation economy, I think clean energy is an example of one such sector where they need to do this as quickly as possible. I mean, if you look at the wind turbine technology or solar panels, for example, China's already the largest manufacturer of these technologies. They are investing the most of any country in deploying these technologies, both domestically and increasingly around the world. But the only place they lag behind really is in the innovation side, measured in patents, measured in a variety of other ways. And I think this is really just because these are technologies that were initially invented elsewhere. And China has had to really leapfrog and play catch up over the last decade. And they've done this quite successfully, I think, through partnerships with foreign firms, through a variety of technology transfer models. But this is really still an area where I think they can increase the amount of innovation happening in these sectors. And so this will be partly, I think, reshaping these government signals, and also really, as some of the other panelists mentioned, encouraging and unleashing this entrepreneurship among these companies. And I think you see some very entrepreneurial companies in these sectors already in China. And so I think these are going to provide, really important models going forward.
Wanqing, where is China going in terms of electronic information technology? We just saw a Chinese company unveil a supercomputer at the conference in Germany last June. So that's already a major development, but where is that particular sector of the industry heading?
Okay, so before answer this question, I would like to add something upon the previous questions on what the new things and the gap behind the developer country. There's one interesting thing we mentioned in this plan, that government is driving for, the science and scientific education, like popularization. You know that there's in U.S. Had already a very long history of the science popularization. Like there's a magazine called Scientific American. It has a Chinese version here, and we saw a lot more and more, enterprise and some startups to go into these areas. Actually, the governments right now in this plan, the first time we are driving for to encourage people to do that. I think this is also a very important thing for a large country like China to make all the people to get the scientific spirit. So that because we are living in a very big internet economy, that's there's every day you see there's a bunch of there are a lot of the news about we call the black science and technologies, and the people is talking about that. But this is important for the scientific education. So for the the electronic and in this section, so not only the supercomputer, I'm working on these areas for and see that these 10 years the rapid growth in supercomputer technologies. It is like a pyramid, and the technologies and developer here can be passed down to the different areas. This is the engine. Supercomputer and HPC is the engine for the other scientific research. It's used the simulation, numerical simulation in weather forecast and seismic processing and life science. All the basic science can be benefit from this area. So this is the one reason why this area China has put a lot of effort and inside and get a very great achievement. And besides this, we noticed that we still have some plan in the general the processors. How to this semiconductor industry. So this is all the important we call self-controlled strategic industry. The China is putting the more and more effort and the investment to get the innovation in it. So I think this is something like a synergy area that's all the electronic sectors and the technologies will be happen here. It's like a booming up. So that's including the we call in that plan you can see that we call content communication and content computers, and also that some we call the basic software and like operation system and the general processors, all this stuff. So that's what I see here from this plan.
Right, and
it's our synergy of the sector.
Yeah, and Carmen, all of this is of course going to require money. What kind of opportunities do Western investors see in Chinese innovation?
I think we're seeing it across sectors. For example, I think in augmented reality and virtual reality, I think that because China has such a vast gaming industry, China's developing, I think, some new business plans as well as new technology in the AR and VR area. And I also see China moving into data analytics in a big way. And I'm beginning to see Chinese companies doing pretty cutting-edge work in machine learning and big data. So I think that we're looking very carefully at those areas.